In the animal kingdom, losing your head doesn't always mean death. In fact, for some creatures, it's just a technical detail. While we humans die instantly, there are animals that continue to move, walk, respond, and perform complex actions even without the main command center of the body. Some have a nervous system that works almost like an automatic mode in a factory, while others breathe using their entire body. That's why they don't immediately need a head to stay alive, even for a while. Today, you'll get to know 10 animals that seem to refuse to die, even though logic says this should have been over a long time ago. But before we start that, if you're new to our channel, please don't forget to subscribe so you'll always be updated with videos like this. Number 10, Cobra. When it comes to staying alive or even being extremely active after being decapitated, nothing is as dramatic as snakes. They don't just move, they can still attack, bite, and react violently for several minutes and sometimes even longer. This occurs because a snake's tough nervous system extends throughout its body. Even without the brain controlling it, the electric impulses keep firing like exposed electrical wires, causing the body to writhe. It curls up and exhibits reflex movements. That's why experts repeatedly warn, never ever touch a freshly beheaded snake. Their bodies can still attack reflexively, and the head, yes, it can still bite. Because the muscles and nerves keep working for a while, and it's literally an enemy attacking from two directions. In addition, the slow metabolism of snakes is the reason why their cells take longer to die, so nerve activity lasts longer. The result is one of the scariest and strangest biological phenomena, where a snake without a head still seems determined to take a life. Number 9, chicken. If there is one animal that truly symbolizes living without a head, without a doubt, the chicken holds the title. This is the animal that brings post-decapitation chaos to worldwide fame. The explanation is simple but truly clever. Chickens have a nervous system so extensive that many basic motor functions don't directly depend on the whole brain, but rather on specific lower parts near the brainstem. When the head is removed in a less than proper way, some parts continue to function for several seconds and sometimes even longer depending on the cut. And what happens here is the chicken will stand up, run, struggle, change direction, and move, as if it has one final order to stay alive that it still has to carry out to the very end. It's no wonder why this kind of scene has become a rural legend. And in rare cases, like the famous Mike the Headless chicken, some parts of the brain and nerves remain intact, allowing the chicken to survive and function for more than a year even without a head. All of this happens because the body continues to respond to automatic reflexes, electric impulses, and the programmed movements of the nervous system. It's disturbing, but incredibly fascinating for science. It's really scary when you see it in person, there's no doubt about it. The chicken proves that in the animal kingdom, organized chaos exists, and sometimes it even runs out of the yard. Number 8, cockroach. If any animal has practically turned the word resilience into an insult, it's the cockroach. While other animals on this list only survive for a few seconds or minutes after losing their heads, the cockroach seems to look at them and say, "Wait a minute, hold my head for me." Cockroaches can survive for several days even without their heads, and that's not an exaggeration. The secret is that their bodies are extremely efficient and almost independent. First of all, they don't breathe using their heads. Air enters through tiny holes called spiracles that are found all over their bodies, so even if their heads are gone, they can still breathe. Second, their nervous system is completely decentralized. This means they don't have a central command center. Instead, they have ganglia or nerve clusters scattered throughout their bodies that control basic movements and reflexes even without commands from the brain. And to make it even scarier, cockroach blood doesn't circulate under pressure like in humans, so they don't easily run out of blood. When the head is cut off, the wound closes on its own and the body continues as if nothing important was lost. In fact, it's not the loss of the head that kills the cockroach. The real cause of its death after a few days is hunger and thirst because, of course, without a head, it can't eat or drink anymore. In other words, the cockroach doesn't die because of the injury, but because of hunger. Even without a head, it's still a survivor, which is why many people joke about it. If the world ends tomorrow, cockroaches will probably be among the last to survive. And after you understand how they work, it's really hard not to be creeped out. Number 7. Mantis shrimp. The mantis shrimp is known for having one of the fastest and strongest punches in the entire animal kingdom. And with its alien-like appearance, yes, it can also remain active even after losing important body parts, including its head. The secret of this crustacean lies in its highly segmented and advanced nervous system, which is common among many invertebrates. Instead of relying on a central brain, it has ganglia spread throughout its body that control movement, reflexes, and even more complex actions. This means that even if the head is torn or damaged, some parts of the body can still move, writhe, and respond to stimuli. And remember, we're talking about an animal that can break shells, shatter aquarium glass, and deliver punches so fast they create cavitation bubbles. Bubbles that implode and release heat almost equal to the temperature of the sun. Because of the independent architecture of its nervous system, its body parts continue to function for a long time, as if each segment has its own little brain that can control autonomous movements that are both amazing and terrifying at the same time. Number 6. Crab. Among the true experts in biological persistence, the crab holds a special place. Like other arthropods, it has a segmented and distributed nervous system. That's why the head is not the absolute center of control. Because of this, even if the head is removed, the crab can still move, respond, and perform coordinated movements for a certain period of time. The secret lies in the nerve ganglia, small mini-processors scattered throughout the body. Each ganglion is able to control a particular movement or part of the body. This allows the legs to keep moving rhythmically and the body to respond to touch or pressure almost automatically. That's why it's not surprising that many fishermen and cooks say that crabs still move even in situations when they shouldn't anymore. This isn't life in the true sense, but rather a powerful and strong reflex. In addition, crabs are very used to losing parts of their bodies. That's why they can regenerate an entire leg after molting, which proves how prepared their bodies are for independent survival mode. When the head is lost, the remaining part of the organism enters the final stage of reflexes and autonomous movement before everything finally stops. In the end, the crab is just one of the animals that proves how strong their nervous system is. It keeps working even after the body's most vital part is already gone. Number 5. Lizard. Now let's enter the world of lizards. Although they don't live as long without a head compared to some invertebrates, they are among the animals that display one of the most fascinating phenomena in nature. The body continues to live for a while after the head is cut off, and most notably, the autonomous tail that seems to have a life of its own. The nervous system of lizards is really more complex compared to insects and crustaceans. However, there are still strong reflexes and nerve centers that can function independently. When a lizard loses its head, it can still move. Its muscles can twitch, and it can respond to stimuli for several seconds, sometimes even longer, because the spinal cord continues to send electrical impulses as if the brain is still working. However, the real show is not the head, but the lost tail. In what is called autonomy, the lizard voluntarily drops its tail to evade predators. The result is a part of the body that continues to jump, twist, spin, and struggle on its own for several minutes. This happens because the tail itself has its own ganglia and reflexes that allow it to function even when separated from the body. It is literally a living piece that works to ensure the escape of the animal itself. The same principle explains why, even in extreme situations, parts of a lizard's body remain active through reflex, have primed electrical impulses, and muscles that refuse to obey the commands of the brain. In the end, lizards not only fight against death for a moment, but also use their bodies as a strategy. When the tail survives on its own for several minutes, it's clear that nature wants to play with our concept of life and death. Number 4. Planaria. If there's an animal on this list that outshines them all, it's the Planarian, the true champion of practical immortality and extraordinary regeneration. While other animals can keep moving even without a head, the Planaria simply grows a new one. These small, flat worms have an extremely advanced ability to regenerate. If you cut it into 2 pieces, you'll get 2 new Planaria. If you cut it into 10 pieces, 10 new Planaria will appear. And yes, if you just remove the head, the body will grow a new head with a brain, eyes, mouth, and everything working perfectly. It's like each piece has a manual to rebuild the entire animal. And the secret is their totipotent stem cells that can become any part of the body that's needed. Planaria have the ability to maintain a chemical map of their body that tells exactly where each part should grow. This is an advanced form of biological engineering that scientists are still studying today. What's even more frightening is that aside from regenerating, Planaria can also recover memories from before they were decapitated. This was observed in scientific experiments, suggesting that memory is not only tied to the brain, but is spread throughout the entire body. And this truly challenges everything we know about neurobiology. While other animals on the list merely postpone death, the Planaria seems to say, okay, let's just make a new head right away. This is the clearest example of rejecting death and winning at life. Number 3, praying mantis. Only a few animals can remain active even without a head, and one of them is the praying mantis. This insect makes losing its head a part of its natural life process, especially during mating. There are instances where the female beheads the male, an unusual tactic that is not common but does happen. Instead of stopping, the male's body remains active. This happens because the nervous system of the mantis is partially distributed, and many reflexes related to reproduction are controlled by the ganglia and thorax, not by the head. As a result, even without the head, the process of reproduction continues. And what's even funnier is that sometimes the loss of the head actually increases movement, because the head produces an inhibitory substance that controls certain actions. When the head is gone, the body becomes active. Reflex activity increases to the point where it's almost comical and yet still impressive. Thanks to the independence of the thoracic nerve ganglia, the mantis's body remains coordinated and has automatic reflexes. This is one of the most iconic examples of the mini-brain architecture of arthropods. When one part is lost, the others continue to function. Number 2, octopus pus. If there's an animal that completely redefined the concept of an independent body, it's the octopus. It's not easy to survive without a head, but almost every part of its body seems to have a mind of its own. Each tentacle has its own neurons that can make decisions, perform complex movements, and respond to stimuli without needing the brain. So when a tentacle gets separated, it continues to live and move on its own for a while. It's scary to think about, but truly amazing. The octopus is a perfect example of how a distributed nervous system gives animals autonomy and survival skills. The octopus moves, grabs things, responds to touch, and sometimes even tries to pull food, all without any connection to the brain. It's like a part of the creature with its own will, operating in advanced automatic mode. The nervous system of the octopus is highly distributed with about 2/3 of its neurons located in its arms, not in its head. And because of this, each tentacle acts as a semi-independent unit, following programmed motor patterns and local reflexes. That's why it can quickly respond to danger, manipulate objects, and solve small problems. And when talking about the whole body, even if the head is cut off, muscle reflexes can continue for a while because of the incredible capacity of peripheral neurons to function even without the central command. Number 1, flies. Of all the creatures on the list, you might notice that the fly seems small and not that impressive. But when it comes to staying active even without a head, they also join in on the fun. It may not last as long as a cockroach, but the last few seconds of a fly are extremely intense. The nervous system of a fly is extremely fast and is based on automatic reflexes. When its head is gone, the wings keep flapping, the legs keep moving, and the body keeps struggling in a frenzied way. Why? Because many of the basic motor reflexes do not depend on the brain, but on the nerve ganglia in the thorax and abdomen. These ganglia continue to fire electrical impulses, so the body responds as if it is still trying to escape. And because the fly is one of the fastest reacting animals on the planet, the last moments before it stops may seem long and extremely intense, with the body appearing to fly, struggle, or spin in the air as the remaining signals pass through the nervous system. A short but memorable display that shows that even with a small body, the pattern of autonomy in invertebrates on the list is the same. A final nervous display before everything finally stops. These are just some of the unusual animals that can still survive even without their heads. If there are any that we missed on the list, let us know in the comments. And before we end, don't forget to subscribe so you'll always be updated on our next videos. Once again, thank you so much for watching. This is Noel Polo TV. See you on my next video.